Good afternoon. I'm Elaine Swafford, president of our Chattanooga Downtown Rotary, and for our second time this year, it's so good to be here in person. I see a few new faces today, so that's great. Before we begin, if you're not in the audience and you're on YouTube, you may sign in the question and answer section, and Aaron will have your name. If you can't do that, just email Aaron for your attendance today. So welcome, members and guests, and again, I'm grateful to be here with my fellow Rotarians to look at each of you eyeball to eyeball. And so I hope that those of you who are joining us virtually, you're not hearing too much feedback, but it's something to do with the electrical wire, but hopefully you can hear well. Few housekeeping details again. If you're sitting beside someone who's been vaccinated, I'm wearing my button today. Make sure that you feel safe. If not, remain distant, and so that we can continue meeting in this manner. And hopefully, again, if we will all continue to be vaccinated as we go. With that, I'm going to call on Sean Carmile-Lee to do our invocation, and then Brian Kelly will follow with the song pledge and the introduction and welcoming our guest.
Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for the privilege of fellowship as Rotarians and allowing us to participate safely. May we embrace each other with open hearts and minds, and may our lives be enriched by the experience of this fellowship. In addition, we thank you for our community leaders, especially Mayor Coppinger and Mayor Kelly, as we navigate through the pandemic and continue to work together to stay safe. We ask for your love, support, and comfort for those of us who have experienced dealing with the coronavirus, either individually or through a family member or friend. We ask that you guide us to uphold the values of Rotary through utilizing the four-way test as our standard in every thought, word, and deed. So guide us in the work we do, that we may do it not for self alone, but for the common good. Bless this food to our use and us to your service. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I cannot tell you how excited I am to see several of your smiling faces. Some of you need to smile a little bit more today because it's a beautiful day and we're back together again and we're singing the same songs week after week again. I never thought I'd be so excited to do that either. So let's enjoy this beautiful day and sing America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I did want to take this time to say another phrase that I haven't said in a long time. Please silence your cell phones. And I'm going to welcome some people today that have joined us on this auspicious occasion. Elaine Swafford has a few guests here today. Frank Harrison's daughters, Carter Glenn, Morgan Everett, Caroline Trammell, and his two sisters, Deborah Everhart and Dr. Sue Ann Wells. If any of you would like to wave so we can acknowledge you. And we also have a couple more guests here. Ward Nelson has Jay Morgan, Frank Harrison's brother-in-law, and Larry Parks has a guest, Rotaractor Robert Parks. So let's say welcome to all of our guests and thank you very much for being here.
I recall when I was voluntold that I'd be president of this wonderful downtown Rotary organization, and our program committee gathered pretty early on, and I said then, I want to see if by chance we can get J. Frank Harrison to speak, because I remembered, some of you may have been at the Chattanooga prayer breakfast meeting, but I heard him speak and it had an impact on me and what he said. And so it's my honor today to introduce J. Frank Harrison III, the chairman and CEO of America's largest Coca-Cola bottling company, Coke Consolidated. The former Chattanooga now lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, running the publicly traded Coke Consolidated. J. Frank Harrison is the great-grandson of J.B. Harrison, who founded the Coca-Cola Bottling Company in 1902. J. Frank graduated from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and received his master's in business administration from Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. He started his career at Coca-Cola Bottling Consolidated as division sales manager and vice president in 1977. He was appointed to its board of directors in 1986, served as vice chair from November 87 to December 1996. And since 1996, J. Frank has served as its chairman and chief executive officer. Under his leadership, Coke Consolidated has grown rapidly in the past recent years. It's grown to an employee count of approximately to 16,000 employees. And 10 years ago, Coke Consolidated had approximately 5,000 employees. Most importantly, he urges business leaders to be honest, to act with integrity, practice servant leadership, and be intentional about making and leaving a legacy. And he leads the company on purpose, and his way of doing business is very heavily influenced by his convictions to honor God, serve others, pursue excellence, and grow profitability. He is married to Jan Harrison. You heard he has 3 daughters, Morgan, Carter, and Caroline. And his sister, Dr. Sue Ann Wells and Deborah Everhart reside here in Chattanooga. And I must say that Dr. Wells is the founder of Chattanooga Girls Leadership Academy and Montessori Elementary at Highland Park, soon to be. So welcome, J. Frank, and I am honored to have you with us today.
Oh, hello, everybody. Great to be with you this afternoon. Great to be with the Chattanooga Rotary Club. Wonderful organization that's been around, understand, over 100 years. You're almost as old as the Coca-Cola business, which got its start back in 1886. But thank you, Dr. Elaine Swafford, for that introduction. But most importantly, Elaine and my sister Sue Ann, thank you for the incredible job you all do at the Chattanooga Girls Leadership Academy. I mean, literally transforming the lives of young women in that city. Thank you. Well, as I get started this afternoon, I want to first tell you a little bit about our company. If I was going to talk about Coke Consolidated, I'd first begin with the purpose. You know, like, why is this company here? What is its purpose? And the great thing about our purpose, we equate it with culture. We say culture and purpose are the same thing at Coke Consolidated. Was it Peter Drucker? World famous Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, I believe. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And very respectfully, we say, Peter, no, culture eats everything. It's the most important thing. You know, I know, when you get the culture right, when people are motivated, inspired, committed, and loyal, you know, that's when you drive incredible results. So we're going to talk about the Coke business. We're going to talk about purpose and culture. And then I want to bring up 2 or 3 other things. Yeah, I think like COVID-19, economic issues, racial issues, and so forth. And you say, Frank, really? Yeah, we need to talk about some of those things because, well, it's on everybody's heart, mind, and soul. And so, you know, I'd like to begin too with a question for you all. With everything that's going on the last year and a half or so, with all the difficulty, with all the challenges, with all the trouble, whether it's at home or out in the streets, riots, whatever, with all that going on, what in the world do you and I do? You know, like, what should we be focused on? What should we be thinking about? And what should we be doing? So we're going to do the best to answer that today. But I got about 20 minutes. We got to get started. Let me first go with the Coke business. You know, we like to kid sometimes and say it started in Chattanooga, but really it started in Atlanta, 1886. Pharmacist by the name of John Pemberton, first batch of Coke in a drugstore in Atlanta. But it was 1899, you know, when the business really began to take off. Two lawyers from Chattanooga, Thomas and Whitehead, went down to the owner of Coke in Atlanta. Pemberton had died. He had it 3 or 4 years. Asa Candler bought the Coca-Cola company. But these two lawyers talked Asa Candler into selling them the franchise rights to bottled Coke from the entire United States for $1. And the rights, by the way, were in perpetuity. So they bring the rights back to Chattanooga. And as I say, basically handed them out to family and friends. And really, that's where the worldwide Coca-Cola bottling system got its start. Real simply, most people think Coke is this one company around the world and somehow these bottlers are in there. But like, it's so simple. Coke in Atlanta sells syrup and concentrate for about 300 brands to Coke bottlers throughout the U.S. and the world. And we manufacture it, make it, sell it, and deliver it to the customers. And that's kind of at a high level. But there in Chattanooga, you know, the Coke franchise started in 1899. Benjamin Thomas had it, then James Johnston got it. That's Summerfield Johnson's grandfather. And then Crawford Johnson got it in 1924, and it's still there today through Coke United. And again, while that was going on, great-grandfather of ours got our first franchise in Greensboro in 1902. But again, all of a sudden, you could sell Coke in New York and California and Texas because of these Coke bottlers all over the country. And for us, 1902, that was like 119 years ago. Lots happened over that time. What's that rule that like 3 to 5% of companies, family companies, make it beyond third generation or make it beyond 100 years? So again, 119 years later, here we are, operate in 14 states in mid-Atlantic, southeastern part of the country, District of Columbia, sell about 700 million cases of Coca-Cola products. And today, with these 300 brands we have, we're in every non-alcoholic beverage category, waters, juices, teas, soft drinks. This friend of mine the other day told me she had stopped drinking our products, and really what she meant, she'd stopped drinking Coke. And I just asked her, well, one, I was curious how she was going to enjoy another meal again without Coke, but I said, hey, have you drink water? And she said, drink Dasani water, Smart Water, Vitamin Water, Zico. I went through all these waters, juices, and teas, and we decided that we're still friends, and she does drink our products. But enough on the kind of the numbers and the history. Let's jump back to purpose of Coke Consolidated. Like, why are we really here? And again, it's our culture. Just real simply, it's this. Our purpose is to honor God in all we do, serve others, pursue excellence, and grow profitably. Now, honor God in all we do. You know, that brings up the God question at a public company. Well, it's a good question. We don't tell employees who God is. You know, they got to figure all that out. But it is all about our values. Honor God in all you do, like this huge banner of accountability. And we have just a values-based culture. Just, 10 of them. I'm not going to go through all of those, but just, I love to talk about 1 or 2 of them just to make a few points. But, honesty and integrity. Everybody's got that value, of course. But sometimes it's hard to tell the truth. But when you do get a truthful organization, you just eliminate politics. And you know as well as I do, if there's no truth, there's no trust, there's no relationship. And no relationship, you don't have anything. It is so common. A person the other day, a leader at a company, you'd know the company immediately. She said to me, Frank, everybody at our company lies all the time. They lie about everything. And I remember thinking, I know your company. That's probably true. That's so normal, but that's so terrible, So we just, again, these values are so important. I love to talk about humility and a lot of the other ones. Just so important to be humble, to put others first, to realize like greatness comes from descending to greatness and all that great stuff. I love to ask the question. I can't let it go. I'm not there with you in Chattanooga. Wish I was, but I think I can see some of you through the camera there. How many of you, like in the last week, have told a lie? Like, raise your hand if you told a lie in the last week. And I'm looking out there, and I'm not seeing very many hands come up, but like I love business audiences. Church audiences are really good. Nobody's hands come up. But if you really think about it, it's hard to tell the truth, be totally truthful. But if you talk about it a lot and you really hold people accountable for the truth, it will so change your culture incredibly. So we all got to work on that. Another important part of honoring God at Coke Consolidated is our chaplaincy program, our stewardship programs, and our giving programs. And yes, we have chaplains. They're trained counselors. I'd say 90% of what they do is just love on and counsel our people. They have their seminary degrees, 10 years work experience, do incredible work for our folks. I say I don't visit a Coke plant today where somebody doesn't come up and say, Frank, I want to thank you for these chaplains. Let me tell you the impact they've had on our family. They helped put our marriage back together. And what's been going on the last year and a half or so with COVID and everything going on at the homes, our chaplains tell me they're just 24/7 busy. Your people, my people, are so struggling right now. And these chaplains do incredible work with all of them. Yeah, just a couple of stories. You know, one of our chaplains told me the other day that one of our teammates in Charlotte was homeless. I'm thinking, wow, in Charlotte, you know, like they are paid well. I mean, like homeless? He said, yeah, would you pray for this person? And I said, sure, I'll pray for this person, but we need to rescue this family. It was a mother and 2 kids. And of course we did that. I recently was speaking to a group of our leaders at our call center. I don't always say this, I should, but at the end I just said, hey, if there's anything that I can do for anybody here, anytime, with all the difficulty that's going on, please let me know. We're family. I want to be there for anybody. And so about a week later, I got a note from one of the leaders there, and she said, I'm going to read, I'm completely out of all options. My vehicle was totaled Friday. My husband, who is awaiting hip surgery, has been out of a job. I'm in need of cash or a loan of $3,000 to secure the purchase of a replacement vehicle. I need a miracle. I'm deeply embarrassed of having to do this. Please know I will pay every penny back if you find it in your heart to help. And of course, we helped her. Now, why am I telling you all these stories? Because like right now, you have the same thing that we have. You have all kinds of teammates that are struggling and hurting, and whether you're profit, nonprofit, and I just want to encourage you to come alongside, be willing to help and serve and give like never before. She wrote a note back, and at the very end she said, thank you, you have a devoted employee for life, you know. That's of course not why we did it, but we did it because it was right. So I mentioned chaplaincy there. Stewardship, I want to talk about that just for a moment. Our stewardship programs, I'm told we have over 100 now programs where in our local markets our people just go in and serve. We're trying to teach our people to be less selfish, and definitely me, less selfish and more selfless. And you know, you can talk about it, but you need to go in and serve. We work with the homeless, we work with the elderly, we work with prisoners, just whatever a local market wants to do, you know, whatever the needs are there in that city or town. I remember meeting the mayor of Baltimore a while back, and she told me, Frank, 1 in 10 of my residents here in Baltimore City are heroin addicts. I remember thinking, wow, 1 in 10. That's like if there's 1 million plus people in Charlotte, that would be like 100,000 heroin addicts roaming around. And so we immediately got involved with a Christ-centered addiction place there called Helping Up, 500 beds. I mean, I've known of 40 or 50 beds, but 500 beds. And I'm telling you, they do an incredible job. And so our people are serving, we're giving to that organization, we're serving, we're helping. And we'll mention one other of the many, rapid response. Back in 2017, Hurricane Harvey hit Houston. And I got a note, text or something, in the middle of the night from a friend, said he was loading a van up and going out to Houston and work out there. Did I want to come with him? And I said, I don't think so right now, you know, in the middle of the night. But I thought about it, and then we got in touch with the folks that I think do rapid response better than anybody, and that's Samaritan's Purse people. So we went out there with them to Houston and learned and just saw and copied and just put our own rapid response teams in place. I'm going to show you a short video of what that's all about. Thank you.
The Coca-Cola Consolidated Response Team was launched to serve teammates who have been affected by natural disasters.
We've been bringing people in from all around the company and giving people the opportunity to serve. You know, we think there's so much power, again, in serving, and we want to serve our employees.
On the heels of Harvey and Irma, Frank really challenged us. We need to be doing something for our teammates.
The least we can do is just volunteer a little bit of our time to serve another one now. Because at Coke Consolidated, as big as a company as it is, we're all one family.
We are here to help people no matter if it's fire, flood, tornado, hurricane, whatever may occur in their life.
We're here to lend support to the families, both spiritually and physically, at their time of need.
Our purpose statement calls on us to serve others, and we are passionate about serving our teammates in need during these challenging times.
It's kind of traumatizing just to know that that could happen. So I didn't know what I was going to do.
We didn't even know where to start until they showed up. There was just so much destruction and so much to do, and they came in with a plan and knew where to put the trees and knew how to separate everything.
When we saw the news, we decided to evacuate. My husband's role, he's not only supporting customers, he's supporting his team. And for him not to have to worry about us and be stressed out, he knows that people here he can trust to help us.
It's truly amazing. I mean, to see that the company that I work for, in a sense, worked for me.
My mom works at Coke, and she told me that Coke had reached out to her to make sure everyone was okay. I was really appreciated. You need all the help you can get in times like this.
I mean, they didn't have to do what they did. I mean, they just came out with no questions, and it's a really humbling feeling to work for a company that really treats you like family.
I'm just glad that my dad works for a company that cares about his employees and will help them in times of need.
We are Coca-Cola Consolidated, your local bottler.
Okay, chaplaincy, stewardship, and now our giving programs. Just mention a little bit about that. Giving is so powerful, as you know. How about a old talking here? He says about giving. It's at Malachi 3:10. This is the short version now. He says, "Give, I will bless you. Test me." God says, like, give, bless you, just test me. I understand it's the only time in the Bible that God says, test me. It's around giving. He's so confident he's going to bless you. The longer version, I believe, is give, I will throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessings you'll not be able to store it. We're learning over time, givers are winners, takers are losers. You want to be a giver. You want to be a generous giver. You want to be known as a generous giver. So powerful, so good for business. I'm even saying now that generosity drives cash flow. You say, Frank, where'd you get that? Well, surely not a business textbook. But how about this one? The world of the generous gets larger and larger, and the world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller. And the one who blesses others will be abundantly blessed, and those who help others will be helped. I've seen it. You've seen it time after time. The world does get larger and larger, and we just be a giver. I want to encourage you in giving. We love to give. So chaplaincy, stewardship, giving, all part of honoring God. And then second, serve others. That's as big a deal as honoring God. Serve others, that's like part of our purpose. We have to do it. We have no choice. This idea of putting other people ahead of you, before you, servant leadership, that whole concept. The greatest leader that I know of ever was Jesus Christ, lived 2,000 years ago, billions of followers today. And here's what he said. He said, if anyone wants to be first, he must be the very least and servant of all. Want to be first, like you get to the back of the line. The greatest among you will be the servant. That's what he says about leadership. I wish I was there, but I want to ask this question now. The great leader, the great servant leader, the greatest one in the audience today, the great one, would you raise your hand? Now that would be a brave soul. But again, Jesus says, the greatest among you will be the servant. And that's why we talk so much and try to exemplify servant leadership. The greatest leaders are the greatest servants. I was asked a while back, what's the growth strategy of the company? I just thought I would say it. I said, well, when we have 16,000 servant leaders, we won't be able to build the barns, the warehouses to handle the volume that we'll sell, because if we truly had 16,000 servant leaders. So many stories, a business that I could share with you. One little one just comes to mind that makes the point. Just in serving customers more deeply than the greatest products and great pricing strategies, but emotionally and physically, even spiritually. A little convenience store on the other side of Charlotte on the way to our farm, little town of Waxhaw. I had my son-in-law with me, Jay Everett, lives there in town. We were riding motorcycles. And I said, Jay, let's stop in on this little convenience store. Guy from South Korea sells way too much of the blue stuff, and just, let's go in there and give him a hard time. So we went in and just had time. We'd slowed down a little bit that day, and we just had a Coke with this guy and really got to know him. I knew his son who worked there, but his daughter from South Korea couldn't get in the country, trying to get in the country, couldn't get in. So we just showed some interest in that, and I said, boy, maybe we can help her find a job here and help somehow. And he got kind of emotional about all that. I mean, his daughter wasn't here, and it was really bothering he and his wife and son. And so that was just a conversation. We left. I came back through there about a month later and drove by, and I just noticed off to the left of the store was this just stacked up really ugly blue stuff, just all equipment outside. Walked inside, and it looked like a Coke museum in there. Coke stuff everywhere, banners, coolers, etc. And I didn't have to ask anything. I knew what had happened, just something so simple. 2 or 3 years of just trying to sell this guy a little something. And all I needed to do was just reach out and love him, his family a little bit. And so many stories like that. And then, yes, we're about excellence, honoring God, serving, excellence, continuous improvement, and then growth. You know, growth at Coke Consolidated is a must. It's a mandate. We think it's right. It's godly. It's good. If you're not growing, you know, you eventually go south. And we totally believe that companies don't grow. People grow. When our people grow, that's when our company grows. So just a lot of work we do around just personal growth and development programs and just mind, body, spirit growth. One of the many that I really enjoy and I'd love to talk about, it's our mentoring program. Based on a guy who, there in Atlanta, Reggie Campbell, wrote a book, Lead Like Jesus. His program is called Radical Mentoring. This will be the 9th year of us, Coke Consolidated, being involved in that program. I've done it every year with 8 leaders, and you know, what happens over the year is just incredible. Every topic you can think of is covered, not just business-related things and leadership, but like how to be a husband, how to be a father, how to be a wife, how to be a mother. What do you do with money? How do you make it in life? How do you stay out of trouble? We cover it all. Lives are so changed in that year. It's incredible. And then there's a great multiplication aspect of it too. And by the way, let me back up too. There is so much material on radicalmentoring.com, their website. If you're like me 8 years ago, love to mentor, but God, it takes so much time to prepare. You know, all the material's there for you. And then back to the multiplication aspect, you sign a little contract. Everything's confidential, but you agree that at some point when you're ready, you'll do a group of 8. So we have found it's 3 to 5 years before people kind of do that. But 8 times 8 is 64 leaders, times 8 is 512, times 8 is 4,000 plus. For 5-10 years, we have thousands of our leaders whose lives, you know, as fathers and leaders and mothers are just changed for good, for God, and for their growth. I'm going to tell you about 1 or 2 other little things, just the organization we have called the T Factor. We've got our next T Factor coming up in June. We do it about every other month where we bring in CEOs from around the world now because virtual got us into the world. And our one in June will have CEOs from about 40 different countries. But we just spend the day talking them through the things that I'm talking with you about in just far greater detail. If you want to start a chaplaincy program, how would you do it? All the legals, this, that, and the others, and we go through. But it's been neat to watch companies come through. We'll have 250 at a time. We found anything more than 250, you get too many questions, so that's kind of the number. Just all invited, and just seeing some companies really change their culture. Love to talk about a couple of them, like some of these Budweiser franchises that have caught on to this. One over in Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill, Harris Wholesale. The owner came, president, with his HR person. And I remember HR person was kind of, not upset, but concerned the first day or two about everything. But after the first day, came up to me and said, Frank, I had no idea what we'd be exposed to. This is incredible. This is awesome. This is good. So I say today, you can go over to Chapel Hill over there or Durham and sit down with a chaplain, have a great counseling session, and enjoy a Bud Light if you want. But that's a little bit about T Factor. So, wow, that was a quick look at our purpose-driven culture at Coke Consolidated. Now, I got to come back to you on the question I asked you earlier. With all the great difficulty, with all the trouble out there, you know, what should we be focused on? What should we be doing? I'm going to even come around. I'm going to drink a sip of Coke before I tell you. There's no way I was wise enough to figure that out. But again, I went to the greatest leader ever, you know, Jesus. And, you know, here's what he said to do. It's actually the first great commandment, second commandment. It's Matthew 22:37. What do you do in times like this? How do you keep it together with all the pain and difficulty and death and just divorce? And he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Like if you will love God, you get close to him, walk with him, hear from him, get wisdom from him. And if you'll love your neighbor, your enemy, your neighbor, those right beside you, those that you don't like at all, love them, serve them, obey God's commands toward them by loving them. If you'll do those two things, you'll be good. Oh, a year and a half ago, I was, if I can do a little confession session here, had a little knee surgery, and I was down on my back for a while in the bed, and all this COVID stuff was going on. I just had this thought and just said, Frank, what in the world are you going to do for the next decade? I need a decade plan. And I'm laying there thinking for a number of days there. And so what is it? I thought it'd be a 10-page plan, but it really was 4 words. I believe God just gave me. And they were love and serve, give and lead. Love and serve, give and lead. I said, Frank, like if you'll just love people, love them. Sometimes that's hard, but if I will love people, serve people, love God, serve God, love people, serve. And then give. Be a giver, not just money, but like give time, give words of encouragement. Give. I was speaking to a group of homeless guys the other day at the rescue mission here in Charlotte. They don't have any money. Frank, what do we do? I said, well, look, you can give a cup of water. You can give a word of encouragement. When you're flying that sign and you get $20, you can give that to one of your friends. But be givers. And then lead. Like lead. Be a leader. Be a servant leader. Stand up and lead. Lead in the right way. Be an example. Be a testimony and lead. And so again, those 2 things from Matthew 22, love God and love your neighbor. And then the 4th thing I mentioned, I believe if you put those in practice, you'll be good. You'll be really good. And then I've got down here, co-consolidated. We believe we have a role to play in racial reconciliation. And we acknowledge we don't have all the answers there, but we have been listening and learning and putting some things in place, some new processes. For example, if you have a interview panel and you don't have a diverse candidate there, it's probably you're not heading in the right direction. But we've just started to take some action steps. Tell you a little bit about that. One thing we do know how to do, our people are pretty good at, is mentoring. So we started about 6 months ago, just moving out. In Louisville, Kentucky, we decided to start there. A lot of riots started there with an inner city youth mentoring program. So we adjusted our program to really apply to youth, kind of like 14 to 24-year-olds. And our people are going in. We're just thinking, good night. If we can impact 100 kids in Louisville and Baltimore, it'll be so worth it. And so, these programs are teach job skills, educational skills, but more importantly, you can get a job and you can't keep it. More importantly, foundational skills. How do you become a man or woman of character and faith and integrity? And how do you keep it together? How do you do life right? And so with our mentoring program, we go deep with these young people and teach them how to, what do you do with money? How do you become a father someday? What does a real godly father look like? Husband. And same thing for wives and mothers. And I almost get emotional thinking about these young kids that just don't have anything, don't have any influence, don't have any examples. And so if we can go in and just impact 10 of them, not to mention 100. But we started in Louisville. We'll go to Baltimore, Washington, Memphis, come to Charlotte. I want to take 8 young boys here in Charlotte, and with God's help, you give me a year with them, I think they'll be changed young men forever, for eternity. Wow, so we're excited about that. And then just in closing, I would just come back to God's words there. Just love him and love your neighbor. If you can do that well, you and your organization, your people, your culture will be powerful, will be good. Okay, now that's the word for the afternoon. Thank you all for listening and have a great day. Thank you. Taking my Coke.
Can you all hear me? Oh, yeah. I brought the school voice with me just in case. I've heard Jay Frank speak a couple of times, and his message is always steeped in love for mankind, the importance of setting a good culture in place, and being and living on purpose. And he simplified it to that. And as he noted today, as you can tell, Jay Frank is also a visionary man, and he's also willing to discuss and solve the hard problems. He doesn't back away from those things. And so I don't know about you, but he gave me certainly some food for thought to take back to my organization and in life, and you know, how to slow down and make sure that you're taking care of your team. And so again, I appreciate Jay Frank calling our attention to being intentional and to being intentional. And so again, we appreciate him being with us today. Next week, we have Bob Corker, and I think he will also be online with us, if I'm not mistaken. A couple other announcements. The Miracle Field season will begin on May 22nd through June 26th, starting at 9 a.m. So it is back open, so that's really exciting. So yeah. You should have received an invitation for June 17th, where I will be outgoing, and my friend Craig will be coming in, and my last cup of coffee that he will bring me, I'm sure. More on that. But make sure you make a reservation. We will start, if you know anything about me, we'll start at 5:30 sharp. I'm one of those people that if you're, I'm chop, and if you're on time, you're late. So we'll be starting at 5:30 that evening, so should be a good time. I'm glad Jay Frank mentioned mentoring. We're still looking for new member mentors, so hopefully that spoke to your heart and you're going to run over and see Aaron or someone. And if you're looking for workplace mentoring, we are big mentoring programs at CGLA, and we look for workplace mentors to come in and mentor with our kids all the time. So I appreciate him calling to that attention. Board meeting today in room 1 if you are in person. Otherwise, Aaron has sent out the link. Correct, Aaron? And so you know that for our guests, I will say this, that aren't usually here, but I bring a quote each week to ponder that may speak to some of our hearts or our minds. And so for some reason, when I hear Jay Frank speak, it brings to mind one of my favorite scriptures that I keep posted in my home, and that is, and I could think of no better quote for today, and that is Micah 6:8. He has shown you what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. That's the quote for the day. Brian, if you want to come and bring the 4-way test, please, sir.
I feel like that's a beautiful segue to those of you that want to join me in the 4-way test. Read along with us. The 4-way test of what we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
We are adjourned.